Hello and welcome to Women of Influence podcast. Hi, I'm Jalen with the J Group Real Estate Team.
The Great American Speak Off.
One of my favorites.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to yet another broadcast of Women of Influence. I am so super excited to have with me today Chelsey Diaz. Welcome, Chelsey. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much, Jalen, for having me. I'm so good. It is so good to be here and just chat more with your audience. I love everything that you're doing and just bringing value to the marketplace and to so many incredible women. So what an honor. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, trust me, the honor is all mine. So everybody that's listening, I want to introduce Chelsey. She helps mama bears to become millionaires while they're still able to stay at home and be with their kids and spend time with their family. I am so inspired by what you and your husband do. I know that you and Stephen met my husband at a 100X Pedro Adeo event, and I happened to be at EXPCon at the same time in Vegas. So I unfortunately didn't get to meet you there, but I know that you and your husband prayed over my husband, and he was just so impressed by the two of you. So Chelsey, tell us your story. How did you get started with doing what you're doing with helping mama bears right now?
Yeah, I love that. So my husband, Stephen, and I, we got married super young. We dated in high school, and then right after college, we got married. And we've always been entrepreneurs. We started our very first business together before we even got married. Actually, we were in the wedding industry for a long time. We did photography and videography. And we often refer to those years, those loving years, as the spaghetti years, where we were throwing, just like everything against the wall and seeing what would stick. Exactly, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like a six-figure wedding business that was doing well, and word of mouth marketing. We loved our clients. We were kind of looking ahead to the future and just really asking ourselves, what would it be like to start a family doing what we're doing now? And we both knew that while we loved what we were doing, it was very time intensive. We were trading dollars for hours. And, we tried to outsource and do different things, but it was just never like the financial freedom that we were really craving. And so my husband, Stephen, he's super tax savvy. He loves all things internet marketing. And while I was kind of essentially like on the couch binging a Netflix show, he was online researching. And so we tried everything. We tried Airbnb, specific like tax strategies and investing. And the thing was, Jalen, like it all worked, but just kind of like it didn't move the needle in the way that we wanted it to until we stumbled upon this thing that Amazon was doing called Amazon FBA, where it really gave us the leverage and the time freedom that we were looking for. And I'll never like as a wedding photographer, you kind of know if you're in the wedding world, there's a moment in the day where you escape the wedding as much as you can and you go sit in a corner and you start stuffing your face with food because it's like time of the day you can sit down for. And so we did that. And I remember like checking on account that day. And that day we had made more money passively on our Amazon business than we had been making shooting, photographing that wedding. And it was like this aha moment for me. Yes, it was like this light bulb, like the weight of the world could finally come off of my shoulders. And I knew that we had found something. And so that was our journey into what we teach now. So we started just telling friends and family, like, you've got to know more about Amazon and the leverage that it gives you to handle all the customer service. You don't have to pack and ship any orders from your house. And we really found that it was really stay-at-home moms that were having the most success in our little tiny program then. And then in 2020 is when that business like really took off, which is also the time that we had our first son. Our oldest, he's 3 now, Kaizen. Movement of we want mama bears to become millionaires, and we have had mamas hit that milestone in their businesses, but we're just all about like time leverage, and you don't have to choose between being a really powerful mom and raising world changers. Like you can do that and have a successful business and not feel like this tethered to one or the other. So that's our story, and just why I'm so passionate about women just finding their voice and their freedom in what they're doing.
That is so wonderful. And part of the audio was cutting out a little bit, unfortunately. So I apologize if I'm asking you something that you already threw out there. But I'm just curious, and I'm sure my audience wants to know, what is the first item that you actually sold on Amazon?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was just kind of back then, we were launching things just like hope like works out. So we didn't know. It was just kind of a random like fidget spinner type of wooden toy that we launched, and it was honestly a fluke that it did so well, but it did. And of course now we have what's called the Rainmaker method, where we go after products based off of data, and it's not just like a hope and a pray or an invention that you think will work out. It's backed by data. But our first product, it was just kind of like, we'll see if this works, and it did, and that kind of led us down the path to where we are now.
That's wonderful. So you guys figured out how to effectively work the Amazon FBA program. And so now you're teaching it to other women. So are you still selling on Amazon, or are you mainly focused on coaching right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. We still do sell ourselves on Amazon. We have kind of different facets of the business. Like we have a couple of different brands that we do ourselves. We have another brand that we have a partner in. We have a wholesale side of our business. So we're still very much involved with that. Most of those businesses are essentially outsourced or run by other people. We're only checking in every so often. And then of course, like teaching is what we mainly do, but we are still very much involved in the weeds of Amazon and doing it ourselves.
That is so wonderful. And I can only imagine how much time this has actually freed up for you and your family. So versus when you were doing wedding photography and things like that versus now, like how much more time would you say you have now versus back then?
I would say you were asking, I know it cut out for just a minute there. You're just asking like, how much time do I have more now than I did then? Sorry, is that the question? I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Yeah, great question. Well, a little boy at home and a business and a team, team members and all of that. So I would say I do have more time, but it's also because I've structured my days and my weeks so that I do have more time, so that I'm not feeling pulled, because I love what we do, and it's easy to like overwork yourself, whether it's because you really want to or because society pressures or whatever. I think as entrepreneurs, it's really easy that the list could just keep going on as far as like dreams and ideas that you have for your business. So I have more time to be with my boys, but I've carved that out very intentionally, so that I don't feel like I'm being pulled too much into my workspace.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you know what you were saying about being very intentional about your time. And it is very difficult as an entrepreneur when you're doing something that you love so much. You want to spend a lot of your time doing that because it fills you up. And so I know that you're also part of the kingdom. And again, that's where you and your husband met my husband through Pedro Adeo's 100X program. And I love that you are also a kingdom entrepreneur. And I would imagine, just wanted to ask, like, how much of what you're doing right now do you feel that you were called to do? Or is it just kind of, it just like, I mean, talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% feel like this is what God has called my husband Stephen and I to do, and we feel very much on mission with that because, I think our program it attracts people who like want to create more income, want to create more stability in that way for their family. But Jalen, too, that with entrepreneurship, it's all about the journey. It's all about who you become in the process. And we really want to see moms coming into our community having true transformation, because as much as we believe that mamas can raise world changers, if they don't believe and know that they themselves is a world changer, it's really hard to pass that on to your kids. And so I know that my life 4 years ago, or even before meeting Pedro, honestly, like through the 100X program, my life has been transformed. I am not the same person today that I was when we first started. And that's because of God and the transformation that I've done and all of the inner work and the building and the leadership and all those important things that you have to do. And so we've had these like crazy business successes, but it's all about who I've become. And so the longer I'm in business, the more I realize that, money is it's this pressure that can build and build on anybody. And if you don't attack and get right the root issues that are going on in your heart, like no amount of wealth, no amount of self-care or anything like that can like help with what's going on inside your heart. And so that's my like huge passion in what I do more than anything else is like, I just want to see and to enjoy the journey of entrepreneurship because it addresses fear and it addresses anxiety. Like there's so many things that are at the forefront when you start a business, when you decide to like take a risk. And I grew up, super like negative poverty mentality, like kind of always looking around the corner for the next bad thing that's going to happen in my life, if I'm totally being honest. And it's through entrepreneurship and through the Lord just like restoring me and healing my heart that I've experienced so much freedom. And so I'm able to walk in and feel like for moms to feel that way. So yeah, I love that question.
That is so awesome. And something you touched on, one of the biggest things that a lot of us have to overcome is kind of our own inner demons, right? Overcoming ourself and those negative self-limiting beliefs. And I'm sure that you probably talk about this a lot and coach other women on this through your coaching program, through the Rainmaker Family program, the Rainmaker program. And so what are some of the most common self-limiting beliefs that you have encountered with other women that you're working with, or, some of the most common things that they maybe say about themselves?
Yeah, there's so many limiting beliefs. I think the first thing that I see often that I've even had to come back to as I've had this renewed mindset is really pay attention to what you are saying out loud or what you're thinking in your mind about yourself, whether it revolves around your self-worth or your business. The power of life and death is, that's why to manifesting things and speaking life important because really do carry power. And so I've had to be really careful with recognizing what am I saying about myself? What am I saying about myself and declaring? So you can't see it right now, but I'm, working off of a laptop, and on my laptop, I have 2 Post-it notes that have declarations that I say every single day. And then in my bedroom, I have another set of declarations that I say and I speak. And the crazy thing is as I begin to speak positively, whether it's about like my body or who I am called to be, I've started to believe those even more so. And I think women need to pay attention, anybody really, you need to pay attention to what you're saying about yourself and about your business. And I think words can tell you a lot about what you're feeling inside. So for instance, if you are, experiencing, I don't know, like as a mom, like overwhelmed. This is just I think, typical example. And I've totally been there, where you start to think and see yourself saying like, I am so overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed with all the tasks I have to do and have to get done. It's almost like you're taking on that overwhelm, and then it becomes an identity. And so instead, I've had to reframe my mind when I do feel overwhelmed, because that does happen. I would say like, I'm feeling overwhelmed, or this task ahead feels a little bit daunting to me, but I am choosing to not say I'm overwhelmed, I'm a stress case, I am all those things, because then I start to believe them, and that becomes an identity. And that gets really tricky when you take on this emotion that really isn't yours to take on. So I think the power of our words is really key. That's like one of the biggest thing I see in all, I see a lot in moms and in our program, but I think it's everywhere. And so just pay attention to what you're speaking over yourself and the words that you're using.
That is so good, so powerful. And talking about, Post-it notes that you have up, I too have, well, I should say I had a little Post-it note up on my mirror, and not really an affirmation, but just kind of a reminder. And my little note says, create a life that feels good on the inside, not one that looks good on the outside. And so, yeah, isn't that a good one? And I find myself talking to myself negative, like using the example you used of like, oh my God, I feel so overwhelmed, or I am so overwhelmed. And, changing that frame, so I am a person suffering from anxiety or overwhelm. And like, it doesn't define me, right? It's so powerful and important for us, especially as women and stay-at-home moms, to redefine and restate what it is that we're saying to ourselves. Because in reality, what you're saying to yourself is, you can make that real. Like, do you choose to say something positive about yourself and have that become real, or do you choose to say something negative and that becomes your reality? Right? That's so good. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious. I would love to hear from you, Jalen. So I love that Post-it note that you said. You said, I want to feel good on the inside first. Is that what the quote was?
Yeah. Create a life that feels good on the outside, not one that looks good on. Create a life that feels good on the inside, not one that looks good on the outside.
That's so good. What are some of those things that you have created in your life to like feel that way and be like live through that intention?
So one of the most important and valuable things, and I forget the word that I'm looking for, but is my relationship with God. I'm very intentional about, in the morning or before I go to bed, I do my devotionals, I go through my Psalms, I do my journaling, I speak to God, I pray to God every day, and I'm just practice an attitude of gratitude, like just remind myself, even the little things like, oh my gosh, I just had the best coffee this morning and the foam on top was like epic. Just, having that gratitude can truly transform the way that your outlook, the way you look at life, the way you look at your day, the way you feel about yourself. Like to be honest, like I wasn't feeling well this morning. I don't know if allergies are kicking my butt. It's an Arizona thing, I think. But I'm like, okay, you're fine. I'm so grateful that I get to hop on this StreamYard with Chelsey and, have listened to your story that you can share with the world. And so now I'm actually feeling so much better. That's a great question.
Yay. That's awesome. So, yeah, of course. Isn't that powerful? Chelsey, I remember when I had like a mentor tell me, oh, go for it.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I had a mentor challenge me, like, you should be doing declarations. What are your declarations? And I've done like some in the past, and, I knew like the power of my words, but it really does change your mind. And that's why, everyone's big on like gratitude. I love how you journal things out. And it does create a transformation, and it can feel so silly and small. Like, why do I need to list 10 things that I'm grateful for? Like, I don't need to do this, but it is so powerful to get in that place of practicing what you have instead of what you don't have. It's of that abundant mindset. So I love that. Way to go.
Thank you. Awesome. And then back to what you were saying earlier, how you grew up with a poverty mindset. I think that, and myself included, not that I really grew up that mindset. I was actually very entitled as a child. I had fairly well-to-do grandparents. So I didn't really have to, ask for a whole lot or like beg for too much. But I do know that a lot of women probably have grown up with the same poverty mindset. They're used to hearing from their parents, oh no, we can't afford that. It's too expensive, right? And so what are some of the things that you started saying to yourself to create more of that abundance mindset?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's been such a process. It's been such a process. And I think for me, like, the biggest step into going after an abundant mindset was becoming an entrepreneur for me. I went to school actually to become a speech therapist, and it was in my last year of college. That's the year that Steven and I got married. I decided to not pursue getting my master's degree, which is what you need to actually become a speech therapist. Like, this decision that I made that was super scary, because I was essentially letting go of what would be a very financially stable job, in-demand job that, I've been working so hard for. And I chose to go on a path that, one might say was super risky or scary. And I think that was like my first step at getting rid of the poverty mindset, of making a choice that I'm not going to live in fear, that I know that God's going to provide for me, and that everything is going to be okay. So that was the first step into entrepreneurship. And I think there's always challenges along the way, as far as, back then it was like, how many weddings are we going to be able to book, and I think another hurdle that I made as far as overcoming the poverty mindset was when we purchased our first home. We were a super young couple, and making that kind of a financial investment was really scary. And it was almost like saying, like, the career that we've chosen, like, it'll sustain us, like, we'll be able to pay this house payment. So I think that was another hurdle. And there's always been one since, until I've worked that muscle over and over and over again. I've referenced this to a couple of friends, but when I first started as a photographer, like, I wasn't very good, but I chose to, like, take my camera with me everywhere. And I would just practice. I would take a photo of my cat. I would take a photo of my mom. It didn't matter. I just wanted to practice. And as I practiced, I got better and better and better. And I think that's the same thing with anything, whether you start a business, whether you decide to invest financially, whether you're scared to take the next risk. How you overcome something is by practice. And the more practice you put in, it gets easier and easier to not have that mindset, and to, say no to the old way and accept the new way. So I think just like getting in the rhythm of practicing, it's the small things every day, journaling, gratitude, looking for things as an opportunity instead of like the what if this doesn't work out, and I think the more you do it, the better and easier it gets, but you have to start somewhere.
That is so good. You talked about exercising that muscle. And I have to tell you, your muscles have gotten really big because you and your husband have been not just successful, but hugely successful. Can you talk a little bit about what becoming an entrepreneur has done for you and your family? And you don't have to talk specifics, but can you give the audience a general idea of what this has done for you?
Yeah. I mean, it's opened every door I never thought would happen, especially at the age that we're at. We've been able to travel the world with our boys. Entrepreneurship has allowed me to work only a certain amount of days a week because we have childcare. We're able to have an awesome nanny who's in our house with us. We've been able to invest in real estate, buy our dream home, so many different things. And so I think entrepreneurship is this, I think that there are so many doors and opportunities out there with entrepreneurship if people are willing to go for it. And I think overall, like, yes, the financial aspect has been like incredible, but that also means like the amount of impact we've been able to have, like, because of us saying yes, years ago to this whole Amazon journey and creating Rainmakers, we're then able to create freedom for all of the moms in our community. And I've heard so many stories from women just being like, I was like praying for this opportunity, and then your ad popped up, and now look where I am a year later, like never imagining that this was possible. And that is what wakes me up every single day. And it's like knowing is like the other mamas on the other side of the story that are waiting for their breakthrough that our community provides for them. And the transformational loan, I know we talked about that earlier, just the transformational loan in mine and Steven's life of who we've had to become. There's no greater marriage counseling than entrepreneurship, and I just think that there's so many business opportunities out there. There's so many ways that you can make money online other than the traditional, like 9 to 5, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great, but there's so many people I think that are turning to creating alternative revenue streams and want to have more freedom and want to live a life that is different. And so I think it's a really exciting time to dive into entrepreneurship.
That is so good. I could not agree with you more. And on that note, I myself was a stay-at-home mom and became a single mom and dove into entrepreneurship with both feet. And like, I had to make it work. There was no other option. And so becoming a successful entrepreneur myself, and now I'm at a point in my life and in my career where I want to help as many other women as I can, do the same things that I have done, or maybe help them do things that other entrepreneurs are doing, such as yourself and your husband. And so I definitely will be sharing the link to your Rainmaker program, when this StreamYard goes out to all of the socials, whatever you call it. And so I am so excited to, share with thousands of other women, what it is that you're doing. And also I'm very, very interested in learning more about what other women are doing, what other entrepreneurs are doing to help other women as well. So I truly applaud you. I love what you're doing. I love that you love what you're doing. And, hearing those stories of success and inspiration from other women and how you're changing their lives is just, I can't even think of the right word. It's just so incredible and amazing. So thank you for everything you do, Chelsey. Oh, you froze a little bit. You still there?
For having me and for creating just a place for women to thrive. I love that you're doing this and interviewing so many different incredible people, and you just have like such a peace and a joy like about your words. I feel like we don't really like know each other, but I feel like I'm just talking to a longtime friend. So I feel like you're creating those moments for women to connect. So way to go. That's awesome.
Absolutely. It's been such a pleasure having you. And I know our audio is kind of freezing in and out. So we might end up having to redo this StreamYard, and that's totally fine by me, by the way. Wait, Chelsey, I forget the parting question that I wanted to ask you, but are there any last words of advice or wisdom that you would like to leave with our audience today?
I would just say that if anybody is listening and on the fence about stepping out into entrepreneurship, I just want to encourage you that now is your season. Now is your time. You have everything inside of you to become a successful entrepreneur and create a life for you and your family. And when there are ever roadblocks coming your way, just know that you just keep putting one foot in front of the other and stay connected to Jaylin and this amazing podcast of inspiration. But you totally got this. You can do this.
Thank you so much. I love it. And God bless you. God bless you and your family. And I wish you all the continued success in the world. And we definitely are going to stay in contact. And like, I feel the same way. I feel like you're already a friend of mine. And I feel like I've known you for more than like 30 minutes. So it's all good.
Yes, love it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a blessed day.